Happy Friday. That's right. We've made it. We're here. And I hope it is nice and dry where you are, but it seems like that is not the case across the country. I left New York to go to a show in California. The rain followed me there. I went back to New York. The rain followed me here. So I hope it's dry where you are. Joining us today is my amazing guest, Michael McElroy, who is the chair of the musical theater program at the University of Michigan. And Michigan almost has this mythos around it. So I wanted to bring on a human being who's in charge of the program to discuss the kind of nuts and bolts of it. So thank you so much for hanging out with us, Michael.
My pleasure to be glad to be here.
Would you tell me a little bit about your backstory as a performer and an artist and how you got to Michigan?
Oh, wow. That's a long story. How much time do we have?
We got time.
I grew up in Ohio in a time where arts education was really essential. So I'm very lucky that I grew up with a great theater program in my high school, great choral program, great dance program. And so I always loved the arts. And then I ended up going to Carnegie Mellon and getting my BFA in musical theater. And then I moved to New York and started working and worked mostly on Broadway for about 30 years. And in the last, about 15 years ago, I had an opportunity to be a part of a group of artists that they were bringing together to start a musical theater program at NYU, undergraduate drama, called New Studio on Broadway. And so I was the head of vocal performance, really at the beginning, being able to craft what that curriculum would look like across from private voice to music theory to sight singing to acting through song. And I was there for almost 11 years.
Wow.
But in the last 3 years, I had been coming as a visitor to University of Michigan because, going back to the beginning, the first person to put me in the very first musical I did when I was 15 was Vince Cardinal, who was the chair of the musical theater. And so he would bring me there to do master classes or to work on a concert with some of the students or to work on a piece that I'd been writing. So for about 3 years, I've been coming as a guest in January and working with the students. Now I look back and see he was just kind of getting me acclimated to the winter, the worst months, winter months. And then during the shutdown, when all of us who were teachers were sitting at home teaching our courses, he had asked me if I would be interested. And then at first, the thought of leaving New York was, moving back to the Midwest was a little daunting to me. But if you were here in New York at that time, it really was devastated. And I thought it's going to take some time for New York to rebuild itself. I get to work at one of the most incredible musical theater programs in the country and be a part of how we continue to evolve as training programs, preparing our students as they step into the professional world for the industry as it is and exists today, but also with the tools to really empower them to be the change makers for our industry of tomorrow. So that was exciting. And so here I am back in the Midwest.
So you took the reins in 2021 or 2020?
2021, yes.
Wow, what a tumultuous time. Good on you, my goodness. The first question that we get from almost any school from families are, what are the performance opportunities like while you're in the program and specifically for freshmen?
So we recognize that the transition from high school into your first year as the first year in any academic institution is a major transition, right? So for the first time, there's nobody waking you up in the morning, nobody, making sure you get those 3 meals a day, nobody doing your lunch, nobody checking in if you don't show up to class. All of these major shifts are important and need an opportunity, plus the class schedules and getting used to your academics and the artistic training that you're doing in our department, that it takes time. And students need that time to adjust. So in the first semester, none of our first years perform. They do, however, run crew for the first show of the semester at the Mendelssohn. But it really is about them acclimating to academia and university life. And we think that that's important time. And while they're taking their classes, to really be able to settle in. And then at the top of the second semester or the winter term, they audition for the winter shows in our department, and are free then also to audition for any shows across the campus. We have a lot of different student organizations like Musket, who produces a musical every semester that's open to all university students.
Oh, wow.
Rude Mechanicals is another student-run organization that produces musicals. Basement Arts that has different plays and musicals that they produce. And also, we have a pretty robust grant-giving organization on campus that students can write proposals for and then get money to produce their own work or other musicals or plays that are out there. So there are lots and lots of opportunities. What I try to be in conversation with our first years about is, not feeling like now that you get the opportunity to do it, you don't have to do it all, right? And so trying to get them to be intentional about choosing opportunities that will gradually help them to get acclimated to, classes during the day and rehearsals and performance at night.
Yeah, boy, I think that's so smart because you said it. There's so much of a mental acclimation that goes into that first semester. It's such a major change of life, and then to be also taking your first final and being like, I gotta be off book for Morning Becomes Electra.
Yeah,
it's like you just don't have that mental bandwidth,
Right. Yeah, and I mean it is such a, and especially post COVID. It's a huge transition, and we want to be mindful of how we support our first years making that transition, and really following up and supporting them all the way through. So I think it's important to have that semester. Back in my day, I sound like an old guy, which I am, but we didn't perform for 2 years. So freshmen and sophomores did not hit the stage at Carnegie Mellon, and then you only performed in your junior and senior year. You ran crew, prep crew or run crew, but I valued that time because that transition was tough. And so I think now, especially post-COVID, our students need, they need that time.
Boy, I agree. I absolutely agree. Megan, I see your question. I will ask Michael in just a moment. So this is a question that we also get a lot. If I'm coming in as a dancer first, now, full disclosure, I will not be coming in as a dancer first.
I was about to ask you if that's a personal question.
Michael, I imagine they hired you because you're a great singer and a phenomenal actor. People hire me because I got the jokes. I'm actor, singer, drill a mile into the earth, dancer. So if I'm a dancer first, am I to get placed in like an appropriate level, or do we all start at Dance 101?
Good question. We do level all of our dance students. So we first go to, pre-screens, which is, we can see and we look at their application to see how many years they've had of class. And then also in the first week when they get there, in case, someone's like, well, I'm actually more of a higher level than where I'm placed, we do an in-person dance call in the first 3 days during the first week of school before classes begin, so that we can be sure that students are in the right level that is appropriate for where they're coming in.
Oh, that's terrific. So my next question actually feeds into, I was going to ask you about industry connections in school, and Megan Barton asks, how do you feel Michigan specifically helps students prepare to go out into the industry post-grad? I really love this question. What do you think?
That's a great question. It's a great question. I think University of Michigan, having gone to a musical theater program, having taught at a musical theater program, and now being chair at the Department of Musical Theater at University of Michigan, has a very, very robust building of bridges to the industry. We do this thing that I curate as chair called Monday Lab. And so every Monday we bring in a casting director, manager, agent, creative, We brought in people to talk about nutrition. We do a new music Monday with composers, you know, so that our students are building those bridges. And what usually happens is, let's say a casting director from Bernie Telsey comes, they come in the night before, that morning, the seniors sign up for 15-minute slots where they get to have one-on-one, they come prepared with their questions. And then at 4:30, we have Monday Lab, where all of the students and faculty come together, and that guest will see 4 to 5 students who have been asked ahead of time to prepare material, get feedback, and then there's a question and answer period. There's also an interview period that I do with them as well. We just had Christopher Wheeldon here in November, who directed MJ the Musical.
Cool.
We have Wilson Cruz coming in a couple of weeks. We've had Audra McDonald. We had Kristen Chenoweth come last year, and Audra, and Andre DeShields came last year. Felicia Rashad is coming next month. And then we have casting directors from Bernie Telsey, from Tara Rubin's office. Two of our alums are casting directors now. Benton Whitley, of Stuart Whitley Casting, he's been here a few times. Rachel Hoffman, who is with Bernie Telsey, she's come. So we really make sure that our students, as they are still in training, are getting those connections that for our seniors build into when they do showcase. It's not the first time that a lot of these casting directors, Jen Namath, who's a manager, who manages a lot of our alums, she comes always in September and does a master class. So between the creatives, the choreographers, directors that we bring in, and the industry professionals, our students are being connected all the way through their time. And when they're senior year, they're not only interviewing with, but also performing for, getting an opportunity to be in front of them performing.
Boy, that is so cool. That is really bridging the gap.
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
One more thing to tell you.
Yeah.
We also have a wonderful student a parents organization called Working in the Theater Lab. And it's a group of parents that really feel that it is important that these bridges are being built. So they support us bringing in 3, either a casting director, manager, agent, or creative 3 times a semester. So they support that because they know the value of making sure that actually stepping into the professional world, that there's a bridge there, a connection, that casting people in the industry are already getting to know you.
Boy, that is so cool. You know, I was just here in New York at the Musical Theater Educators Alliance conference last week, and there was a lot going around from professors of like, we're teaching students how to be an actor, but we're not teaching them how to be an actor in the real world, like marrying your artistry with the pragmatic part of it. And this is so cool. You're really, really doing it. I love this. So do we still do in-person New York City's senior showcases?
Yes, we started up again last year. We had our first showcase in New York last year, and the first one in 2 years. But we also, because those 2 years before that, we're doing a digital version.
Right.
Now, because of the support of one of our major organizations that supports they're called the Friends of Musical Theater, we also continue to do a digital version so that we can get that to people on the West Coast, to be able to see our students, as well as more students are getting interested in not just a career in musical theater, but also in television and film. So you can see it live. But if you can't make it to the live showcase, if you're on the West Coast, then we will send you a password protected digital version for you to watch.
I love that. Say Rachel Hoffman does come in, and I don't know, Billy Smith is like, oh, this kid has to play Evan Hansen on Broadway right now. What is the policy for students auditioning for professional work while they're in school?
Good question. A funny thing you should say that, because we had 2 students who left last year. One was on Broadway in Dear Evan Hansen, and on the national tour of Dear Evan Hansen. So it's funny you should choose that show. You know, I'm of 2 minds. One is, I firmly, when a student comes to me and says, I've got this opportunity, we sit and we really talk through the pros and cons, specifically related to that individual student and where they are in their trajectory. And I will give my opinion, and we'll look at both sides, but ultimately the decision is theirs. I think you have 4 years to train, to fail, to risk, to build up not just your artistic skills, but your life skills that are necessary. And to be able to do it in an environment where people are pretty much curating and supporting your artistic and academic development, right? I think that especially since COVID, there is this fear that the industry won't be there because we saw it not be there. But I feel like you get one opportunity to introduce yourself to the industry. And why not do it with as much skill and as much technique under your belt as possible? Those opportunities will be there. They're not going anywhere. I know there's this fear that they are, but they're not. And I would rather our students benefit from the 4 years of training and then step out in a curated, once again, opportunity that we curate for them. But when students come and say, you know, sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's a role that they just can't say no to. You know, I listen and I say, well, we'll support you, whatever you decide to do. They have to talk with their academic advisor to make sure they're set up to do the things they want to do. And I had one student who went to Broadway and came back after that semester and said, it was a terrifying thing. I'm glad I did it because now I really appreciate being here and now I know what I have to work on. You know, and so it can go either way. We're not here to play, you know, the going to Broadway police, right? I'm here to help students look at both sides of it. And I've had some students who've been offered certain things, and then we talked through it and talked about what really is their vision for their career. And is this just a response to, ooh, somebody wants me in the industry? Or is this something that I really think is going to set me up moving forward? And the thing is, I always say to them is, you know, a casting director, and I have many friends who are casting directors and love them all, but their job is to solve a specific problem, right? I'm invested in these students for the long term, right? I want you to be set up for longevity. And so I just think that the 4 years you have in an artistic training program are so special. And every opportunity, if they want you, you know, in your sophomore year, just imagine how much more they'll want you after 2 more years of training under your belt.
Absolutely. And you'll still be, and this is something that is hard to grasp for a person who's 18, right? A person changes a lot from the time they're 18 to 22, but when you're 22, you're still a baby. Like time-wise, you're still so young, and taking those 4 years to get even better and still be this sprightly thing that comes out of college, you'll be so much more ready when the opportunity does present itself, right?
I agree.
Are students considered academically before they're considered artistically? Do I have to pass the admissions office before you get to see me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And I think that University of Michigan values academics, and that is extremely important. And the students that end up coming here are also, you know, very talented and very passionate about their artistic development, but equally passionate about their academic development. And the thing that I'm always trying to tell them, because University of Michigan is such an incredibly robust space and so many opportunities academically, artistically, in every possible way, that you have to be intentional about not trying to do everything, because there's so many opportunities here in every aspect of the university. So our students who come here are lots of them minor in something. Some of them have even double majored in while they were here, but they're very academically minded.
That's incredible. I mean, I always think of the University of Michigan as this robust academic institution and a great musical theater program and a great football program. I so seldom put them together that you can be a student who is academically curious, and the musical theater program will still give you the time to live your life as a curious student. That's really amazing.
Well, it's a part of your credits. I mean, a big chunk of the credits that students need to graduate are in academics outside of
that's great.
School of Music, Theater, and Dance.
Oh, I just love that. You know, we're in a different world than we were even 2 or 3 years ago in how each of us individually and as organizations are trying to make the arts more equitable.
Mhm.
So what is Michigan's role in contributing to greater inclusion for marginalized communities?
That's a great question. I think that our industry um, recognized a lot of spaces where they were lacking in inclusion and really being offering opportunities across all fields within our industry for more diversity. And what I have tried to do, and what was already begun before I got there, I can't take credit for it, is make sure that we are mirroring how the industry is transforming. So, for example, um, in the macro, School of Music, Theater, and Dance has a diversity, equity, inclusion office that is quite robust, that offers training for faculty, training for students, many different opportunities and events that they do all year round. So that's the macro. Within our department, I am mirroring I see happening in the industry. So, for example, on all of our shows that have any kind of intimacy, we have an intimacy director.
Awesome.
When we're dealing with any kind of material that involves issues of race or gender identity, we have a cultural sensitivity coordinator who comes in.
Awesome.
I'm looking at trainings. We do our own trainings within our department. And some of that training is separate. We have a group called Students in Solidarity, which are white identifying students created with a faculty advisor to really look at issues of privilege and fragility and how they manifest in their day-to-day lives and interactions within the department, across the campus, and what are the tools they need to really be able to stand in allyship. We have an organization for our students of color that meets once a month. We just finished the very first New Works Festival. And this year, my theme around all of our artistic work has been celebrating the diversity of the student population within our department. So our first show of last year was Sophisticated Ladies, and we had Mercedes Ellington, the granddaughter of Duke Ellington, come in, talk to the cast. It was directed by Ardeli Cassell, who did the tap for Funny Girl on Broadway, and Toria Beard, who assisted directed Funny Girl. And then our second show was Bernarda Alba by Michael John LaChuse.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And then our first play of this semester is The Importance of Being Earnest, and then we're finishing the season with Rent. So really looking at a variety, a scope of identities. And in fact, two of our characters in Earnest are not played by the gender that they were originally written for.
Yeah.
And then, so we had this New Works Festival where we invited 5 creative teams to come in and be in residence for a week working on their new works. All the students, freshmen to first year to senior year, were put in a show, and these shows centered certain lived experiences. So we really got to dive into, one room was Gavin Creel wrote a new piece and came here to workshop with, and it was an all male identifying space, but it was really dealing with issues around sexual identity. Then we had a piece that Lynn Schenkel, who was also an alum, wrote, which was a female identifying cast. Then we had Christine Toy Johnson and Jason Ma, who wrote a piece for the AAPI community. Then we had a piece called Silhouettes, written by Erlina Ortiz and Robbie Hager, about a Latinx, predominantly Latinx community. And then a piece that I've been working on dealt with the integration of Shakespeare sonnets and African-American music genres with an African-American cast. And we shared the work on Sunday after a week, and it was one of the most amazing, magical, healing moments that we could have had. And our whole community took part in it. So we're really trying to look at how we are integrating diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, belonging through artistic practice so that they don't run side by side.
Yes.
But how are we looking to integrate those things into our daily practice as artists, how we build community, and how we are aligning with the changes and the shifts that we see happening in our industry.
Boy, do I love that. Oh, gosh, that gave me chills. I love that. Also, I think the fact that you're doing Earnest with gender swapping, I think Oscar Wilde's doing backflips in his grave right now. I think he loves that. So what are some opportunities that maybe we haven't touched on that are unique to students at Michigan in the program that they might not get somewhere else, other than it being blistering cold? What else
Oh, yeah.
is unique to Michigan?
Well, like you said, it was funny when I first was coming here in 2021. I was
Mhm.
working, the first show we were going to do was The Wild Party by Andrew
Wow.
Lipper, who's also an alum. And I was talking to the head of our university productions, and we were figuring out the rehearsal schedule. And I said, and then on Saturdays we'll do, and he goes, no, no. I'm like, excuse me? He says, no rehearsals on Saturdays. I said, what do you mean no rehearsals Saturday? He goes, that's football. I think, what does that have to do with musical theater? He goes, no, no, no. Everybody goes to football. So in the fall, we do not have Saturday rehearsals. They're on Sunday because everybody goes to football. So that was a new thing for me. This year, our juniors and seniors had the opportunity to perform with the Michigan Marching Band for a halftime show. So those kinds of opportunities. We have this wonderful thing here called collage, where where students across all the School of Music, Theater, and Dance can apply to present some artistic thing that they are doing. And departments are represented, individuals, groups come together, and it's a night of just all this amazing talent across our school, the School of Music, Theater, and Dance. So we have opportunities like that. We have a cappella groups, we have other kinds of choirs and groups that students join. We have this wonderful 24-hour play fest that happens where you can go from room to room to see different plays happening. It really is a robust artistic and academic space. But I also believe in service.
Yeah.
And giving back. So like every year, the department, we just finished our second year where we did a donor drive for the Covenant House here in Detroit, which is an international organization that helps homeless and trafficked youth. And we also worked in collaboration with the University of Michigan Detroit Center downtown and did their Noel night, which is a community-wide event downtown Detroit that our students took part in. So there's all these opportunities. And once again, I'm always trying to say, how can we do what we want to do, but instead of doing 400 things, because there are,
Yes.
let's do 10 really, really well.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
And so I find that there's not a lack of opportunities artistically. And a lot of our students are activists and politically minded and civically minded and belong to different organizations. There's just the film school is robust and students do student films. It's just so many opportunities here that make it a really special place for someone who's artistic, whether they're in our department or not, to be able to have a lot of opportunities to get involved.
Boy, I love that. You have a lot of fans. Carmen Flores says, my kid is so lucky to be in the program with you. And Carolyn says, we miss you at Tisch, but we're very happy for your position at UMich.
I miss you all too.
Sarah Yao wants to know, what are some of the ways the program supports the wellness of the students? What do you think?
Well, we have what's called CAPS. It's a wellness center. And that's pretty robust for students who need any kind of support. One of the things that we recognize, and I've been looking at a lot of data on this, is that there, are major challenges post-COVID for this young generation of artists. And I can't imagine in my amount of years what it would be like to be 15, 16 and having gone through that. It would, in such a formative time, a time when you're really learning who you are and socializing and all of the different things that contribute to your development as a human being. And so we are aware that there needs to be additional support. So we have a pretty robust wellness center. A couple other things that we do, you can take yoga. One of our alums teaches a yoga class. And we do with our wellness center a assessment of all incoming students physically to see what issues there are. So we can provide different workout regimens for them. And we work with an ENT in the Local Health Institute to do a scoping of all of our first years. So we have a real nice baseline of what their local health looks like. And so we try to support, and the reason that we have intimacy direction is really understanding that needs to be a part of how we are engaging each other in the physical space in such a emotionally and physically demanding career. And so the mind, the heart, the body all of those things are really, we work hard to make sure that students are getting the support that they
Mhm.
need.
Absolutely. Last question is from Jamie Smith. What should one expect during their audition at Unifieds?
Funny you should say that, because we just finished our second week of auditions today.
Great.
There are a couple of things that I say to students. One is that, I look at it as we have a problem, which is we need to create a class of 2027 and that they can be the potential solution. So coming into the room, we are always rooting for you, right?
Yeah.
So bring yourself in. Don't waste the time and energy thinking about what we're looking for. I'm telling you what we're looking for. We're looking for you. So bring your talent, bring your joy and your love of musical theater, and be present and enjoy the moment. And we try to make it as comfortable as possible so that students can bring their best into the room. I remind students that not only are we auditioning them, but they should be auditioning every program they go into an audition space with, from the people who greet them, to the people in the room, to the students who are monitors. All of those things are valuable tools of information as to whether you could be or see yourself in that program.
Yeah.
And I say, this is supposed to be fun. You're auditioning to go to a program for 4 years. So it should not be a stressful situation. You prepare before you come in, you've chosen your material, trust that you know what you've practiced, and come into the room, be open, be curious, be joyful, be you, uniquely you. And, lots of times with people thinking, oh, they're looking for this person who's an alum or this person. The world already has a Gavin Creel. They already have a Celia Keenan-Bolger. They already have a Soleil Pfeiffer. They don't need another one. They're already doing that. What we're looking for is you. So I really try, and all of us, our faculty, our students, our administration, really try to make it a comfortable space so students can really, and parents feel relaxed, and students can do their best work.
Oh gosh, I just love that. And something that Vince said to me 5-6 years ago that stuck with me, I was sort of in, oh my gosh, Vince the Cardinal. And he was like, I was like, one thing you could tell my students. And he was like, 2 out of 3. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm just looking for 2 out of 3. We don't expect anyone to be perfect. And I was like, oh, what a game changer for these kids who were carrying so much weight on their back.
Yeah, we live in a world of perfectionism, and when we think about it or approach things in that way, we're always going to lose, right?
Yeah.
Because we're not looking for perfection. You're
right.
Auditioning to get training. So we're looking for talent. We're looking for potential. We're looking for, is this a good fit for the student? And that's another thing. Students get caught up sometimes in the program they're supposed to go to. And I always say, you need to choose the program that is best for you based on the kind of university, academic, artistic experience where you feel you're going to thrive.
Absolutely. Hey, if you are watching this and you're loving it, stay tuned, because something that Michael and I just talked about is over the horizon for you. I'm going to let Michael go so he can finally get some rest and rev up for Saturday, baby. Oh, wait, no, the college football's already over. Never mind. Shows you how much college football I watch. Well, Michael, thank you so much. And we have a number of people who will probably be seeing you at Unifieds. And I wish you a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk soon, sir.
All right. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Michael. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Now, if you loved listening to Michael, we have a perfect little segue into what he was talking about auditioning schools for you, not just you auditioning for the school. And sometimes it takes a while to get to know what you're looking for and who has it. So if you are a 9th, 10th, or 11th grader and you have not signed up yet or gotten information about our front of house program, this is exactly what you're looking for, because it is personalized direction guidance from me, monthly mindset coaching, and a meeting with the head of an MT or acting program every single month. And you get this kind of personalized Q&A, but in a much smaller setting, and you really get to know who you're talking to and get on their radar. So if you want more information about front of house, I still have not updated the price on the website, so you lucked out again. So if you want more information, just shout info in the comments and I will get that to you. And if you also want any more information about summer, we got 10 programs coming to the summer intensive, including the University of Michigan, to work with you on your audition monologues and songs, and helping you set up a killer college audition with a lot of fun extracurriculars down in Orange County. It's going to be an awesome week, and we cap it with going to Disneyland on the last day. Please shout info below and I will get that all to you right away. I hope you have a great weekend, everybody. Wishing you all the best, and we will talk soon. All right, bye-bye.